Welcome to the Young Pros Show, where we bring you powerful conversations from incredible human beings all over the world. Today on the show, we have our friend Hazen, who's a wanderer, entrepreneur, opportunity seeker, investor, but really, he's a friend. And he's going to share a story with you guys and some experience that he's had throughout his life. Why don't we start off by just sharing your story of where this journey started for you as an entrepreneur or as a friend?
Really, it started in college and thinking, why am I in college? That's where it started. Literally, and Matt, I know Matt believes in that as well. Everybody's telling you got to go to college, get the job. And I mean, everybody's heard that kind of saying too, but really that's, where I grew up was you got to go to college, you got to get a job security, all of those things. And when I broke out and said, I'm going to start a business with these other four guys. That's what we did. We started a web development, graphic design, that kind of thing. And I was doing sales and marketing and building this stuff up. So we left college, and that's where it all started for me. And then I've done a million things since then. But really it goes back to, I'll tell you the most powerful part of that story. Everybody's telling you what you have to do. Everybody around you, you fit in your box, and you got it. This is what Hazen does. This is what Matt does. This is what David does. They want to be able to tell people what you do. And I've kind of always enjoyed for people not to be able to tell what I do. It's kind of almost a deep rebellious type thing that helps me, in relationships, business, whatever it is. But the biggest things about dropping out of college way back when was about 4 years ago, when my parents finally, who had, by the way, been just dogging me for years about, you should have stayed in college, should have stayed in college, should have stayed in college, where they finally said, well, I think we think you've done the right thing. You were pretty smart to do that. So that was 15 years of getting harassed to then saying, wow, you can kind of do anything and be okay. So that's kind of where I would start.
That's a cool story, man. Having them finally, after 15 years, come to you and tell you that they really think you made the right choice there. And especially coming from your parents being entrepreneurs. Like, I know your dad owns a big real estate company, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's what's so interesting about it is they still wanted that, but they just, your parents just want you to be okay.
Yeah.
So that's where they're coming from, and they worry about you, and really the conversation turns into nothing's guaranteed, nothing's secure. Just recently, one of my siblings, had this big corporate America job, and 3 years ago, while she's in the hospital with her second kid, they literally, instead of saying they downsize you or that kind of thing, they basically said to her, we're going to move you to a really bad territory and your pay is going to get cut in half.
Wow.
And to her, the same thing as getting fired, and she thought, I've been with her forever. She's one of the top 10 sales reps in the country for this company. And that's how they treated her.
Wow. Then
the whole shift started happening with everybody, and at least in my family, and saying, wow, that doesn't mean anything secure. But until then, especially my sister, she thought that was she was just good and golden for the rest of her life, Yeah,
and what a surprise, right? To wake up to, you just have a baby and all of a sudden you're being shipped off to one of the worst territories in the company and pay cut in half. And, you got this loyalty to this brand you've been working with for so long, and all of a sudden they do that to you.
Right. I mean, she had taken over this whole half of the United States for them. And then they were like,
wow.
I mean, it's amazing, really.
Yeah, it's incredible how we're told that we will have this security for our entire lives, and job security, be safe, take the safe way out. But the truth is it's not always the case, and that company could go down under. Anything could really happen, where it's almost the least safe thing you can do is be working for someone else and having your fate in somebody else's hands.
No, I totally agree.
And you know what I think? It's almost like when our parents say this stuff to us. Almost deep down inside, they probably know that too.
Right. I would agree with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, they know that.
They know it, and they have no real conviction in it, except they want to protect you and make you feel safe, right? And
And they've been given a safe route to take, so they're going to give us the same safe route, even though it's not really the safe route.
Well, and their that's their scarcity mindset,
Mm-hmm.
rampant in today's society. I mean, everybody's scrambling, or they think there's not enough for you, or not enough for everybody to succeed, right? So,
What would the opposite of a scarcity mindset be, Hazen?
that there is enough. There's plenty out there. I mean, I'm inundated, and I'm sure both of you get this all the time. I know Maddie does, but I get covered up with opportunities. I mean, it's every day somebody's like, you got to watch this. Look at this. Hey, I want you to join me in this business. Can you come look at this for me? I mean, every day. Yeah. And what becomes hard, well, what's funny is a lot of people sit there and go, man, I need an opportunity. There's nothing out there for me. I don't know what to do. And I'm sitting here literally 5 things a day at least, where it's like, look at this, come join me in this. Hey, I need your help on this. I mean, it's insane. So I don't know, I've become a magnet for that stuff. And I think any good entrepreneur will become a magnet for that. But it almost kind of turns funny when somebody's like, there's no opportunity, there's no jobs, there's, this kind of thing, when I feel like I could make money out of nothing.
Yeah.
Right? Because you really could. But the trick, though, is finding the stuff you really want to do.
Right.
Yeah.
Because I can go make money doing a lot of things, but if it can't hold my attention, or I don't feel there's a cause behind it, or if I feel like it's just anything to make money, I don't last very long.
Right.
Yeah.
What are some of the paths you've chosen?
I mean, let's see. I've had a few jobs, and like corporate America jobs, and I just felt smothered and covered, as they would say at Denny. And it tore all my creativity out of me. It was terrible. But I mean, I did that. By the way, without a college degree. And it was kind of a stumbling block, but there's all kinds of stumbling blocks when you're trying to get a job. But I was able to get 2 corporate America jobs, and one with the government, literally just because I met with them in person. They were like, okay, I took whatever personality tests and things they make you do, and I passed all that stuff. Or I took their IQ tests, and I mean, literally everything they throw at you for you to say, okay. And then they say, we're going to overlook your college degree. And I'm like, well, that's smart. It doesn't mean anything. And they would laugh. They always laugh. They know it doesn't mean anything.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't know who it was, and maybe you two know. Somebody recently was in a room and they said, who in here knows they have to go to college or feels like they have to go to college? And like the whole room's like this. And they said, man, what if I took out the partying, the fun, no girls, no guys, no dating, no this, no that? How many people want to go to college? And it was like nobody raised their hand. And that tells you something. That's what college is. Plus, it's the biggest bubble behind housing, that I think there is now.
Yeah.
It's pretty sad the governments are making money on kids going to college.
What do you mean by the biggest bubble around housing?
Well, housing was a huge bubble here. It was all propped up and fake.
The
debts, and they were doing crazy mortgages on people. There's a movie called The Big Short, if you really want to see what happened.
Yeah.
They're in trouble for it. And college is doing the same thing. They're making all this money on kids that are never going to be able to pay it back, which is part of like the government saying, if we can keep you in debt, then you're a slave. And you have to go into the machine and you have to make money so you can pay the IRS, which is also a whole other thing. So then you can, keep the machine rolling and rolling and rolling because you have to.
Yeah, the college debt is the only debt that cannot be forgiven by a bankruptcy.
That's fucking insane.
Yeah.
It really is.
And you got these kids that are in debt, $50,000, $100,000, $200,000, $250,000. Right? To get an MBA from Harvard, it's $250,000 to get a $70,000 a year potentially job.
I mean, a lot of my good friends that went, like one of my best friends went to college, went to an Ivy League college. I think they spent $500,000.
Oh, fuck.
And he went for 5 years. He got two major degrees and a minor degree. He slept 4 or 5 hours a night. He had some fun. Here's the reality. Now, now that he's in his upper 30s, his whole thing is, I wish I could take that $500,000 and apply it to something now with my wife and kids and my family instead of what I did in college. He doesn't use any of his degrees. He kind of is like, well, now it's a passing memory. He has a few friends out of college, but that's it. So what did he gain from it?
Right.
That's how I always felt. I felt like I was way ahead of the curve on the whole college thing. Not to say give me props or anything. It's just, I was like, what is this teaching me to do? I'm not going to be an accountant. And to go to business for college, you don't need to go to college for business.
Yeah. Just start a business.
Right. Just start a business.
So Hazen, what would you say to the student just graduating high school who's thinking or being told that he or she should go to college and isn't really sure what path to take? What would you say to him or her?
I'd say look into a lot of things. Find what you like. Find what gets you going. Find the thing that I still don't know exactly what I want to do. At the beginning of this, Matt, David's like, what are you focused on? I'm like, I'm doing 3 businesses right now. And I'm whatever one, you usually find something you focus 80% on, but you still have the other things going. There might be a 4th business that comes in there. But I would say go look at a lot of different things and see what you like. Because otherwise, how are you going to know? You can get stuck. You can get stuck on top of a mountain, and then you're like, oh, dude, what do I do now?
Yeah.
Right? There's that video with Jim Carrey where he's like, you can fail at what you don't love. So you might as well go after what you do. That's paraphrasing. I don't know if that's exactly how he said it, but it's really strong. And I think about it all the time. And that's how, my sister didn't love her job. She loved the money. Mm. But, she failed. I don't know if fail's the right word there. They took the rug out from underneath her, but, right. I mean, so that's kind of that's what I would say to kids, and just, don't try to be who they want you to be. And that's something that I don't know where this rebellious thing in me came from, but I just don't like being told what to do. That doesn't mean I won't listen to it. Sometimes you can rebel and it can be just as bad as if you fell into the box, but, I don't know. I just think they should look at everything, and they shouldn't, like Gary Vee would say, don't front. Yeah. Don't put on this facade that, oh yeah, I'm this. Sometimes people ask me, like out at a networking event or that kind of thing, they'll say, well, what do you do? And sometimes I'll tell them a few things, but I can tell their eyes glaze over. They're not, they don't really care. So I'll say, I really turn it around on them, or I'll just say, well, what do you want me to do? Or I'll say, I'll mess with them. I want Matt, you probably, I mess with them because they're in a zone, their zombie zone, and they're just saying, how's the weather? How are you doing? I like your shirt. The zombie talk. Yeah. And I would like to take them out of that. I want to take them out of I call it the zombie zone. Like, I think there's a lot of zombie stuff for a reason, and people are somehow relating to that. Like The Walking Dead. I mean, I can't believe people are watching this show like religiously, and I'm sitting here like there must be something they relate to, because it's not a good show. I just like it's stupid, in my opinion. You know? I'm like, what in the world are you watching? They drag it on. I don't know. I feel like there's something consciously or subconsciously that they relate to, and it might be that it'd be nice to be a zombie. Not worry about anything. I don't know. That's what I would say to kids coming out of college.
Yeah. To echo what you're saying there, Hazen, I would definitely support that same thing. Try a whole bunch of stuff.
Yeah.
Just try all kinds of different things, and figure out as you're making those mistakes, what stuff stands out to you and gets you excited and lights your soul on fire a little bit. And who knows, you might find something that does, and in 5 more years, that's a different thing. But at least you had that experience, and it didn't cost you $250,000 of your time that you wasted in a college degree. And by going out and trying those things, you can start a new business for $500 these days with the internet. right?
Yeah.
And you can learn a ton doing that.
That's right.
Yeah.
I think it comes down to, you know, if you ask somebody who they are, they don't know how to answer. I think it comes down to knowing yourself, or like, what do you want to do? Well, I think that, you know, there's a famous quote, and again, I don't know who said it, but I always think of it because the guy said, you know, some of the best people I know, or the most interesting people I know, or still didn't know what they wanted to do at 20, 30, 50, 80. And I always keep that in mind because it centers me back, because sometimes I listen to the noise or the stuff from other people, and I say, you know, it doesn't matter. I don't have to fit their box, but I know me, and I know that I won't do certain things.
Yeah.
So I have to know that about myself, and the constant out there is change.
Yeah. And it's really interesting, man. It seems like the more that we can discern the environment around us and discern the information that comes at us, the more that we can sort of answer for ourselves what we really want to do, right? But we just have to keep discerning the information, because the information's always going to be coming out as the noise is always going to be there. So we got to discern the noise to get some clarity out of the noise that's coming out.
Well, and in the information age, you know, remaining ignorant is a choice now.
Yeah.
That's the thing. So you can find anything you want. You can look up anything you want. You can figure out anything you want. I mean, YouTube, I mean, what would you do without YouTube now? Any household project, most people can do at home now.
Yeah.
Because of YouTube.
Yep.
I mean, I guess I just think that you got to remember that change is the constant. And one of my also favorite quotes, I'm a quote guy, was from Walt Whitman. This was from high school, not college. I'll repeat, not college. It was Walt Whitman, and he said, you know, somebody questioned him and said, you're contradicting yourself. And he said, well, I contain multitudes. And I always think about that. I can contradict myself and be okay with it, because one day I'm thinking one way and the next day I might have changed based on what you just said, David. You can change your mind, and you've got to be okay with that.
Right.
Changing who you are is okay.
Right.
Yeah, and as you grow, as you read books, as you get better and better friends, and your network improves, and as you have more and more experiences, your brain is going to be different, and you got to be okay with that. Understand that that's the reality of life. That's called growth. Yeah. And you should be focused on that, not run away from it. Right? I am more of a student now than I ever was in high school. Oh, yeah. Or college. I tried college twice, dropped out both times, didn't give a shit.
Yeah, because you're forcing yourself to do it.
Yeah.
You know, it's just like the job thing. If you have a job, I always found it when I had a job, it was hard to get up in the morning.
Yeah.
Without a job, it's not hard for me to get up. Why is that? I mean, think about, why does that work that way? I can get up at 5 o'clock in the morning if I want to. I can get up for 4 a.m. flights. Why? Because I'm like, awesome, I'm going here, I'm going there, I'm doing whatever I'm doing. You just got to be like, you know, another thing that you run into is people say, who are you? Like, who are you, David? Who are you, Matt? Who are you, Hazen? And sometimes I just say, I don't know.
Really though, right?
Because do you really know?
Yeah.
No, I don't know. Maybe you do. I mean, I'm always trying to find out who I am, but again, it's a lot of times it's changing.
A human being.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. You know what a lot of people do this day and age is they label themselves with their job.
Yeah.
Right? Their response is, oh, I'm a doctor. Yeah. Oh, I'm a mechanic. Oh, I'm a personal trainer, or whatever that is. Their label is tied to what they do for a living.
Yeah. And what's really interesting is now, because they're labeling themselves as their job, if you talk about the job, they'll get defensive if you say something negative about the job, even though the job isn't them. This is the job that they have, is the label that they put on themselves.
Yeah, and there's something to be said about that, because that's their identity.
Yeah.
Their ego, if you really look at the ego, super ego, that becomes them, and they don't even know what's happened. They literally take on ownership of their who they are through this external thing. It could become tomorrow.
It's messed up.
Yeah.
I mean, I always think about like Madonna. You guys know Madonna, right?
Yeah.
What if Madonna had not reinvented herself every other year? Literally reinvented herself. Would you have all the same music you have now? Would Madonna be even, would you even really remember her name, except, oh, she had, you know, whatever song she was famous for way back when.
Wouldn't be relevant.
Yeah, she's the queen of reinvention. I think that's a model that we can always look at, even though I know it's just something, you know, Madonna, but you know, I was talking with this girl, and I met her, and I call her the resume girl, which I put on the thing for today. But talking about college, you know, she went to college, and her entire goal in life is, well, a couple of her goals. One is to find a guy to help take care of her, which is insane. It makes you sad, right? Like, she's literally looking for a guy to take care of her because her dad took care of her.
Yeah.
So there's the correlation there. She thought college was the answer, went through college. She had this job. She didn't like her job. So she was working on a resume. So she comes to me and she kept asking me for help on a resume. And I would tell her things about her resume, and she constantly fought me on it. And I would have to say, you came to me for help. Do you want my help? And what was really funny was she said, it's so hard to get a job now because there's all this red tape. So I think this will be relevant, especially for young professionals. There's all this red tape. You got to put in everything online. Nobody will meet with you, blah, blah, blah. And all I heard out of her was excuses, and I heard blah, blah, blah. Because I just was like, this is insane. Like, I didn't get my jobs because of, you know, I know I have 2 corporate American jobs, but I got them partly because somebody referred me to it, maybe, or partly because I just said, I'm going to go meet with them. And I went and met with them in person. And me being in person was powerful, but they were like, oh, you can't go do that these days. I'm like, yes, you can.
Yes, you can.
All the time you can go do that.
Totally.
You guys know the story with Les Brown with, you know, where he kept going back and going back and going back to be a DJ. And finally the guy goes, didn't I tell you not to come back here? And he goes, blah, blah. And then the next day, finally he says, go get me some coffee. And he was hired. Remember that story?
Absolutely, Mr. Washington.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And he went and got him some coffee. That's how he got in the DJ business. And now, you know, I just saw where Les Brown so far in his lifetime's earned over $60 million. Came from nothing.
Yep.
Worked his butt off.
Single mom, took care of all the kids. Yep.
She had 2, 3, 4, 5 jobs. And now that's where Les Brown. He's one of my favorite, you know, speakers.
Yeah, he's great.
But yeah, so the resume girl said all that stuff to me, and all I heard was basically excuses. And but then I saw the pattern of her behavior, and it was because her dad had really handcuffed her mentally. She thought, that's what my dad did. That's what I got to find. And she constantly goes through terrible relationships, and that's just not my kind of people. So I ended up not really helping her, and we don't even talk anymore.
Yeah.
Her mindset's so below, so away from mine. Shouldn't say below, but it's just so far off from me, or opposite, that I can't even.
Yeah. She saw a problem where every solution you gave to her, she saw a problem with and rejected it without even being open to consider the option. You know.
Yeah, and everything was an excuse, and everything was a complaint.
Which again brings us back to scarcity versus an abundance mindset, right? If you focus on scarcity, all you're going to see is the problems.
That's right. And I used to joke with her about that other Les Brown quote about, you know, every time you complain, 80% of people don't care, and the other 20% are glad it's you. Like one of my right? So what else, guys? What else are we talking about today?
Is it you? What was the story with the socially awkward girl?
Oh. Okay. Socially awkward girl. She's an acquaintance friend. So I make a distinction between friends and acquaintance friends, or, you know, I have real friends versus acquaintance friends. Your real friends are who you can count on. There might be 5 of those, could be 1 of those, could be 10 of those, depending on how many people you know. And then acquaintances are the people that could be for you. They're with you because they think you're funny. But they're not really behind you. You couldn't trust them at 2 a.m. to come and help you out. right? So I make a heavy distinction between friends and that kind of thing, or acquaintance friends. And your acquaintance friends, this girl's an acquaintance friend. So I'm out with her and a few of our other friends who are real friends. She's a kind of a tag along this night, and I'm talking to across this networking event. I'm talking to two girlfriends of mine, and the socially awkward girl comes up, and she sees us laughing, and the girls are looking at each other, and they're laughing because I said something probably off the wall, inappropriate to whatever, or really against the social norm, which I like to do.
Yeah.
I'll basically say anything, and especially if it's got humor to it. So the girls are laughing, and this girl comes up and she basically says, she kind of joins in, and her motivation was she wants to know these two girls. So she steps in thinking she's read the situation properly, which she hadn't, and she says, man, you just never know what Hazen's going to say, demeaningly, like she's making fun of me, like you just never know what he's going to say. Man, you got to be careful around him. And I just looked at her, and these two girls start laughing, and they're like, that's what we love about Hazen. And then she just felt awful, and she didn't know what to say. And so she kind of nervously laughed, and then we kept talking, and she kind of excluded herself and walked away. And I thought, right? I thought it was a funny situation. So hold on a second, guys.
Okay. We will be right back on the Young Pro Show. Here now, we will have an intake with Let's Hug It Out. Let's Hug It Out is a company to spread hugs, positive vibes, and happiness all around the world simply by wearing a shirt. Matt's wearing one of them.
All right. Sorry about that.
Hazen, you're going in the dark.
I'm in the dark. Hold on.
Is it a rated R show?
We're going dark for Halloween.
All right. Better? Good to go?
He's like, I'm going to go do this in bed.
Life of an entrepreneur.
Life of an entrepreneur. I'm going to put my feet up and get comfy.
So that's one of the things that gets me in trouble, though, is being able to, I'll just say, politically incorrect, religiously incorrect. I ask a lot of questions, and people, just like with their job, identify themselves as a person based on their political beliefs, their religious beliefs. And when you ask the questions or you put it in a way or joke about it that they can't handle, it's like a personal attack on them.
Yeah.
And that'll get me into certain situations, where they don't want to hang out with me, which is fine with me. But at least I was honest, or, I say, somebody else could just lie to you, but I'm not going to.
Yeah. So
that's fine. But then I also find that they'll come back around and say, well, he's fun or this or that. And I've built relationships like that where they finally came back and said, wow, you really made me think, which was the entire point. Because people are walking around in
zombies.
And they're day to day. And this goes back to abundance again. I mean, everybody's in this zone every day. They're going to work, they're going home. They're going to work, they're going home. They're doing like little things with their friends, and then they go home. But I like to take people out of that zone, out of their, whether it's dating, business, life. I mean, if you really get people to think, then you've got something.
Yeah.
And then they go, whoa, I've got a good story about it. This is on date. There's this girl, and she does costume design for like celebrities. And she was telling us that that most of the time when she meets a guy, she literally just zones over. She's just like, whatever, I know what he's going to say. So she says, I do costume design for all these celebrities, blah, blah, blah. The guy had asked her what she did. And she said the normal response is, oh, wow, that's awesome, da-da-da-da-da. And she said that never inspires her for anything. It never, it's just constant nodding, which a lot of people do. They can't hold their space, so they nod, or they have tics and that kind of thing. So this guy threw her off. So she said, here's a night. A guy says, what do you do? And she says, I'm a costume designer. I do blah, blah, blah. And she said it so mundanely because she said, I knew the response was coming. And instead, this guy went like this, and he just said, have you designed anything I would have seen? And it totally flipped her script. The pressure went from being on him to her, and she got really nervous, and she said, well, wait a minute. Wait a minute. I know I've designed for people. Yeah, I did a thing for Lady Gaga. I did this bubble thing, blah, 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 blah. But it took her a second, and it totally just messed her up. She said that was a huge turn on for her. They had this great conversation. They ended up actually getting together. And she said, you know what? There wasn't really anything special about the guy except that he could hold his own as a man against me, and he didn't have the boxed answers.
Yeah, you see someone in that scenario, if it's most people give the flattery back when they're told from someone what it is that they do, as opposed to getting curious and asking questions and shaking things up a little bit.
Yeah.
Which is so interesting because as kids, what are we most? We're curious.
Yeah.
Everything that we're doing, we're curious when anyone.
Why?
Yeah, we're always asking questions, and then we just sort of lose it to this facade that we play as we go about this game of life, and then we stop asking those questions, and we just do those typical responses that we get from everyone else around us, but really there's no actual connection to those.
Well, we associate sometimes asking questions with being stupid. Right?
Yeah.
There's that weird change that happens as we go through school and start getting friends, is when we don't know something, it shows that we don't know something.
Yeah.
Right? We take this pressure and become quiet instead of having that curiosity. We go into, I'm afraid of being rejected and laughed at because I've asked a question and I've admitted that I don't know something, and someone else might make fun of me for that.
Yeah, that's I've never thought of it that way. That's powerful.
But the reality is questions lead to answers. And if you want to grow your life, you need to ask questions, and you need to find people who, when you ask questions, are in the mindset of there aren't stupid questions. If you don't know, ask, and curiosity will give you answers to all the things you're looking for in life.
Yeah. Well said.
It's
curiosity didn't kill the cat.
No, it didn't.
Yeah, that's right. It's funny though how people feel stupid when they ask questions, mainly because somebody in their past more than once has made fun of them for that question, or somebody of authority, which I've seen, and I know Matt has. From one company or another, where one of the head guys, if you asked a question he didn't like, he just made you feel like an idiot, like this big. Just you were dumber than dumb for asking that question, and that experience settles into them as this nervous energy, and then they'll never ask that question. They'll never ask questions again.
Yeah, and I can totally validate that. Where when it would have happened to me, I would just stop. I would just not care and not ask questions anymore, and it disengaged me from the process.
Yeah, absolutely. Because what else are you supposed to do?
Yeah. And that's something that's important for all the people out there that are watching this, that are aspiring to be a leader one day, that when you have people ask you questions, you better do your damnedest to not belittle them and make them feel uncomfortable for that, and actually support them asking questions and encourage that.
Yeah.
No, absolutely.
Keep the curiosity going, and it just feels so good when you're on the other side and you're asking a question and somebody's just putting you at the same level as them, and they're answering the question, and then they get you more curious and they answer another question. Like, some of the best conversations I've had are people that I would have thought are much more experienced and greater than me, but would just have a conversation with me at the same level and wouldn't care about any question that I would ask them, but be completely real. Matt, one of the things I love about you, dude, is every time I ask you a question, you don't care what the question is. You'll always give me an answer, and a good answer. And I've learned so much from that process.
And one of the things that I'll often do to you too is ask you a question based on your question.
Yeah, very true. Very true.
Right? So I'll empower you to help you discover the answer and ask those questions to yourself and figure things out.
Yeah.
Being good at asking questions is one of the most valuable things that you can learn, because questions lead to answers. Yeah. So Hazen, you've tried so many different businesses now. I know you've had from marketing companies to promotion companies to network marketing to real estate. You've been involved in production of movies. You've just got all kinds of things on the go. And what are some of the major things that you've learned being a serial entrepreneur for now probably close to 20 years or so, right?
Yeah. Man, I've learned a lot. And it's kind of hard to quantify it. It's how to deal with certain situations. It's how to deal with people in a certain way. It's straight up pure experience that is so invaluable. Sometimes, and this is going to happen to entrepreneurs, but sometimes I think, what if I had just finished college, but not in a regular degree, but maybe went into the medical field or something like that? And I sometimes think about that and I say, man, I could have had a solid thing, medical field wise, down the road, blah, blah, blah. And I think about that. And then I say, no way, no way. The travel, the experience, the people I've met, the relationships I've formed are so much more valuable than if I stuck in a career or a zone, not being able to travel, not being able to meet the people I have, not being able to go to Canada 3 or 4 times, not being able to do the things that I want to do, or go see the people that I want to go see. I mean, I've kept relationships with really good friends open through the years because I was able to travel to see them where they were not able.
Yeah.
Which is kind of crazy when you think about it, because that's how you drift apart from people.
Yeah.
And once you find good people, you should really try to stay in touch with those people. And I think a phone call doesn't do it.
And I totally agree with you. One of my favorite things about the entrepreneurship world is the freedom to go and experience the travel and see all kinds of friends all over the place. And when you're in that job, you get 2 weeks a year. You go and do that.
If they take it.
If they take it.
Yeah. Yeah. There's people, like right now I'm in Kentucky, and there are people that live in this town, and this town is 250, 300,000 people. And there's people in this town that it's like going back to the Stone Age or the Renaissance or wherever, where they thought the earth revolved around the sun. Or no, that the sun revolved around the earth. Sorry. The earth does revolve around the sun. Just so you guys know that. There's a lesson. That's a thing I missed in college. So, but they think that the entire planet revolves around this town. I'm sure you know people like that.
Yeah.
Man, everything's in this town. The whole world's a part of this town. There's nothing outside of here, and they act like that. Everything's about their town. Everything's about their little pond, and they can't imagine when you travel, or they watch you. It's amazing too. Like, you don't think people are watching you, and they say, "You're never around. You're always in another place."
You're so lucky.
Yeah, you're so lucky. Or they say it would drive you crazy.
Yeah.
Like, drive you crazy? Why? Why would that drive you crazy? I mean, but they can't even see. I don't like that. They can't even fathom it. It's like they have no dream capability of living somewhere else or moving somewhere else. They literally can't even see that within themselves.
Yeah.
And so a lot of times I like those conversations so I can kind of open their head, open their brain, and kind of say, well, what if you could live somewhere else? Where would you live? Well, most time they can't answer that.
No.
I love the 2 words, what if. Just this morning I was practicing for a script that we're making for young pros, and a lot of the questions that I'm asking in the script is using the 2 words, what if. Right? But why don't we ask that question that often, right? It feels so good to say what if, even if we don't even finish the sentence, just what if, right? What if we could do that? What if we could travel? What if? And why not dream about what if rather than focus on what you think is?
Oh yeah. That's funny, because you just made me think of I judged a Miss USA pageant a year or two ago.
Nice.
And a friend of mine does that, and she brought me onto the panel as a local business person. So I go on the panel, and they have a bunch of questions you're supposed to ask the girls. And what I did was I turned the page over and I wrote my own questions. So I really did. And I asked these girls stuff like, what if you could live anywhere, where would you live? If you could have your dream car, what would it be? And these responses were insane. And this is girls age, I think it was like 12, no, maybe like the ones I talked to were like 12 to 25, maybe up towards the 30, but the responses were so vanilla, like so boxed, so boring. So I would keep them past the question. I would ask them the question, they'd tell me something, and I'd be like, okay, come on. Really, what would you do? And I mean, it blew my mind how just small the thinking was.
Did you notice the younger girls having better answers than the older ones?
No.
No way. Wow.
As you know, they've been coached and taught how to respond to almost anything, and it's a vanilla. What pageantry is an interesting thing for me, and know a lot of girls have gone through that, and it really teaches you how to give boxed answers that everybody will like, which I think is terrible.
Yeah.
I don't like the pageant industry. I used to, like, I have actor friends, and I always tell them, get off stage. Hang out with me, but only if you can get off the stage. Does that make sense to you guys?
Yeah.
Because their responses and the way they talk, it's like they're doing a script. It's like they're in their boxed world telling me this garbage that I don't care about. Right? I mean, so I like to ask questions that matter. You know, I don't like to talk to people and ask the stupid questions. I just said stupid questions. I don't mean stupid questions. I mean the who cares questions.
Yeah.
I'll put that under that right there. What's the weather like?
Yeah.
What do you do for work? Just the canned things. I like to ask them other kinds of questions. So what do you do for fun? If you could go anywhere, where would you go?
What's got you excited these days?
Yeah. What
fires you up to wake up in the morning?
Yeah. What do you want for breakfast? If it's a good-looking girl, those are my kind of questions. So get out of those boxes, and if you help bring people out of their box, you become more valuable to them in my world. So make people think, and you don't have to give the canned fronted answers that most people give. And if you just can do that one thing, I think you massively stand out. And there's going to be people that gravitate towards you, and there's going to be people that move away from you. But the ones that move away from you, do you really want to deal with them anyway?
That's one of the things I love about hanging out with you, Hazen, is the questions, the conversations that you and I get into all the time. We're talking big stuff. You know, we're always talking about opportunities and places we want to go, adventures we want to see, reminiscing about adventures we've already done together. Just having real dialogue about things that really matter, as opposed to just we're friends because we drink together. You know, like right? There's so many of those that I've had over the years. People who are in my life only because I saw them out at a bar. But then you get your real core friends that kind of think like you, dream like you, want a lifestyle like you, and you can have such deep, powerful conversations about improving the world and making change and getting the most out of life.
I could not agree with that more. And that's the spice of life right there. That's the spicy meatball.
That's the spicy meatball.
It really is. And a lot of people don't have that.
No.
And I feel bad for those people. But it's only up to them. Again, in the information age, you can change all of that.
Yeah. So if you're watching this right now, and if you're a young person watching this, and ask yourself what kind of conversations you're having. Are you having those conversations with your friends that are just surface level conversations that don't really mean anything, or are you having conversations that are actually meaningful and deep, that actually bring you new insights and inspiration and drive. Think about it.
Yeah, you hear so many people talking about how fucked up they got last night, right? How drunk they got last weekend, what stupid thing they did. You know, great, but what else you got?
Yeah. It's interesting. It's like if you talk about you getting fucked up last night, you're almost fucking yourself up right now by talking about how you got fucked up last night.
Yep.
Yeah. That's I've got another story, and it's something.
I'm loving these stories, by the way, Hazen.
Hazen's a great storyteller.
It's all about the look good business, and that's part of the front, right? So something I talk about is there's people that care more about how they look than having real conversations, real content, who they are really. And the front is there because I think most of the time, they are so afraid of you really getting to know them. They can't handle that pressure. There was a guy recently that fits in this category of that whole thing of the look good business. So it's a Friday night. I happen to be in my little town, and I've got two girlfriends with me, and we're having a great conversation, talking, laughing. And this guy comes up, and the one girl knows him, and he's in a full out suit. I mean, it's hot outside too, by the way. It's hot out. He's in a full suit, tie, and even the inner part. I can't even remember it. I haven't worn one in so long. Whatever that inner part of your suit is.
The vest?
The vest. It's called a vest. And he's wearing this whole thing, and he decides his line of conversation is going to be making fun of how I'm dressed. So he starts saying, do you even, like, I've got a fishing shirt on. I love them because they're comfortable and they got a bunch of pockets and they breathe. If the wind blows, it goes right through, and that's why fishermen wear them. And I go to Florida a lot, so I buy these shirts. So anyway, so he starts saying, do you even know what that stands for? Why are you wearing a fishing shirt? Do you know what the PFG stands for, and all these questions? And I'm like, no, I knew what it meant, but I can't help it. So I go, no, man, enlighten me, because you know when a guy's talking down to you, right?
Yeah.
You know when you feel it. And so he's doing that, and I thought how sad this was, because he thinks this is going to impress two girls that I'm friends with. How is that going to impress them? But that's all he's got. This is never a guy I would talk to past this conversation. It's never a guy I'd want to get to know, because he's a drone. And that's how he thought he should start this conversation.
By putting someone else down.
By putting me down on a shirt. So, and normally I wouldn't exactly do this, but I just said, I said to this guy, I told myself a long time ago when I was an entrepreneur, when I became a successful entrepreneur, I would never wear a suit again unless I really wanted to wear one. And that's why I wear stuff like this. So the only thing it's telling me is that you're not successful enough not to wear it. And I said, I got to go. and he was pissed. But at the same time, I could tell he was like, damn, and maybe it helped him this much. Like, think about how silly that was to even talk to somebody like that.
Yeah, maybe.
But that's all that I could, normally I exactly wouldn't do that. But my girlfriends thought it was funny, and, we ended up having a laugh about it. But at the same time, they were like, that's really something to think about, that to them, they didn't even understand what was happening. They just thought it was embarrassing he would say that, but they were like, wow, there's a lot of deep layers to him doing that or saying that. And I said, yeah, I mean, it's sad. It's his insecurity. It's his scarcity mindset. He acted like these might be the only two, maybe he thought these are the only two girls I could talk to tonight. Maybe that's why he did it. You know what I mean? So to me, that whole, situations happen and stories happen, and then I like to peel the layers and say, what are they really? What's their real motivation there?
Mm-hmm.
A lot of times in a bad situation, it comes down to fear and insecurity.
Yeah. I'd say a majority of the time these days, that's definitely what's coming out of a lot of people's mouth is fear-based and insecurity-based.
Yeah.
Egos being challenged, and they want to find some way to get themselves that external validation by oftentimes by making someone else feel bad.
Yeah.
Right.
And you know where you see it a lot today is the social media world, where people get to hide behind a computer screen and poke jabs at people to make themselves feel better, start fights, do bullshit like that, all hiding only to prop themselves up.
There's one of my favorite internet memes is this little skinny guy with glasses, and he's over the computer and he's talking to this big guy, and he's like, if I ever meet you, I'm gonna F you up. But then it shoots into real life, and he's saying that to a big bully guy, and it says, little Steven forgot he wasn't behind his keyboard. And I love that. It's exactly right. That's where the humor in that comes from, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. So Hazen, you said you told me earlier that being lazy inspires you. What do you mean by that?
Because lazy people know how to get things done because they're lazy. Bill Gates had that quote, you know, if you want to get something done fast, give it to a lazy person. Because a lazy person, and there's kind of what lazy really means, but lazy is, I don't want to waste time on silly, mundane, stupid, busy work stuff. So lazy to me is how to avoid mundane, stupid, silly, lazy, busy work stuff. So I think that's what Bill Gates was saying there too, was if you really want to get something done fast, give it to a guy that hates wasting time on the minutia. And so, yeah, I'm a lazy guy. A couple of my good friends are like, you always try to find the shortcut of how to make something faster, better, or how to get around the where it's like working smarter, not harder.
Yeah.
That's what I would say.
Yeah.
They are okay with working harder, which is fine, but they only have 24 hours in a day, just like we do. So I want to work smarter. Not afraid of hard work. I work my butt off. But the point is if I find a better way, I'm doing it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I am with you on that 100%. I only want to do things that I love. And I want to find the solutions to everything that I have to get done and find leveraged ways to do that. Find the shortcuts, find the easier way. I'm lazy too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm with you guys there.
Just makes so much more sense.
Sorry, Matt, go on.
It just makes so much more sense.
It does.
Right? You can find a great person who likes doing that other thing that you don't want to do.
That's right.
Empower them to do it.
How does a young person get out of it? Because we're told that we have to work our butts off all the time. Right? We're told that if we want to get any sort of a good income, we have to work harder than everybody else. We have to keep going. We can't stop. So how do we change the paradigm from that?
Well, no, that's true. That's what you're being told is right. We're just saying don't get so caught up in working hard that you don't see the gateway or the stargate to the end, the finish line, because you're over here working so hard. If you find a shortcut, you use it. Or like Matt just said, you find somebody else that is better at that piece than you are. So you have to delegate. Maybe you have to delegate something. But sometimes people get so caught up in working their butt off that they can't even, there's opportunities, there's possible delegations, there's faster routes, and they just pass right by them, and they're just like, I'm so busy working hard,
right.
And they miss it.
Another 18-hour day in the books.
Yeah, and that makes them feel good.
Yeah.
There was a girl that Matt knows that used to tell me constantly how she was proud of having 3-4 jobs. And I thought, that's insane. Why? She made her feel good.
Yeah.
I'm telling people that. And I'll never understand that. I'll never understand that thought process of why does that make her feel good or accomplished? What is there? What's behind the scenes that makes that so huge for her to tell people? Again, what's her motivation of that?
Yeah.
What does she get out of that? Right? I don't get it. I don't want to be like that.
No.
You know, I don't need to be the guy on stage. I don't need to be the guy that gets all the recognition. I want to be around people I love, have awesome conversation, travel, have fun, and I don't want it to be all about work.
Yeah, well said. Well said, Hazen.
Thank you, sir.
And I am in the exact same mentality. Be around people I love, have great conversations, travel, create incredible life experiences for myself and other people, give back, contribute, do stuff of service. But just life is too short. And at the end of the day, what does any of this stuff really matter? There's so much bullshit that goes on that people get tied up in that it doesn't even really matter. At the end of the day, we're all dying eventually. It's not going to matter when you're 90 looking back on your life. That's not going to be the thing that determined whether your life was a success to you or not. Right. We waste so much time on that stuff. The little things, sweating the small stuff. Unnecessary. Life's meant to be lived.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. There. I'm gonna tell this quote too. We're talking about jobs, abundance, this kind of thing. And there was something I saw the other day, and I posted it. But it was the guy said, "It doesn't sound. It sounds good saying, I make $13 an hour. That's the verbiage." He said, but the opposite doesn't sound so good.
Yes.
I traded an hour of my life. I sold an hour of my life for $13.
That sounds terrible. That's like, fuck.
That is crazy. I sold an hour of my life for $13.
Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah, we even talk about raising the minimum wage and how great that is, that we're all going to raise the minimum wage in the world. But then we look at the other side, it's like, okay, we're going to raise your hour by an hour. By $1, sorry. We're going to raise what your hour is worth by $1. Thank you.
That's right.
So happy you did that for me.
So many people are stuck in that. That's their belief, right? They say I get paid $22 an hour.
Yeah.
That might sound great to them, but if you really even flip that around, I sold 1 hour of my life for $22.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. And never to completely knock them. I still have to go do some hourly jobs because I need to get income to fund my businesses that I want to do. And that's okay for you guys that are watching. If you have a job right now that you need to have to get you a source of income to be funding towards your business, you have to have that. Just recognize that it's, they do it to get to something else.
Yeah.
That becomes your motivation. That's your story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you also have to understand though that that's also your current belief is that you have to have that job.
Da, 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 da,
da, da. There are lots of ways to make money, my friend.
Yeah. Very true.
Right? Now, getting a job to get extra income to supplement your income while you're building a business, there's nothing wrong with that. I was a full-time personal trainer and built my own schedule, my own hours. So I had a constant stream of income. And at the same time, I was trying to build businesses. Yeah. Right. So the important thing is that whatever that job is you're taking, that it allows you, or that you take the time outside of those hours where you are trading your time for money, that you go and pursue stuff to set yourself up to create that freedom you're eventually looking for.
That's two things on what Matt just said. My first corporate America job, I was only there for 1.5 to 2 years. The entire time I was building my marketing business. Always. The weekends, after work, the whole nine. And another thing, I like watching Gary Vee, but Gary Vee was just talking about, a friend of his was calling him lucky, which I get told. And what we just said about the travel and all this stuff, I'm like, what do you think I do? Just travel like I don't work? But they don't get it, and they say, man, you're lucky. Well, V said, no. It was a friend of his from college, I think is what he said. He said, the guy said, man, you're so lucky. And he goes, no, Rick. Remember when you were back in college and all you did was party and you went on the weekends, you got drunk every weekend, blah, blah, I was working. And he said, so for him to call me lucky is such a, just a demeaning, just such a discounting of all that effort back then. And it's just something to think about. That, like I said, that becomes part of your story. And then down the road, when somebody calls you lucky, you can laugh. You will laugh that away.
Yeah.
It's hilarious when people call you lucky.
One of the best examples I think for that we can, Hazen, you and I both know this guy, Blake Mallon. went through college and got himself multiple degrees and graduated magna cum laude, top of the class. But all around that, he was working and he wasn't partying. And the guy's worth tens of millions of dollars now. He's early 30s. And when all his friends were out having fun, he was in his home office making shit happen. But he now gets to travel the world, has endless, constant supply of money coming in from all the different things that he owns and the assets that he owns, has created incredible life experiences for himself and his family and for people he cares about. Short-term sacrifice for those long-term gains. And he's 30 years old, 32, 33 years old now, right?
His whole life ahead of him.
Yeah.
That's incredible. That's really incredible. This goes to show you what you can do, especially if you're in the position where you're, in college or you just graduated high school and you have so much time left. Like, you can buckle down right now and start working on those things that you're really passionate about and you really love to do. You can start creating those sources of income for yourself. So by the time you're 30 years old, you literally can do anything you want for the rest of your life. And even if you screw that up, up until 30, and then from 30 and 35, you start working your ass off, well, you can go do it till 50 and you still have the rest of the time to do really anything you want.
Yep.
Oh yeah. You're only born, and Matt, you tell me if you know who said this. I think it's Les Brown, but it may have been somebody else. You're born with 2 fears. What are they?
What you're supposed to do in death?
Your 2 innate fears when you're born are fear of falling and the fear of loud noises. That's it. Every other fear in your life, you've learned it from your parents, from others. It's all external. You're born with 2. I'm pretty sure it's in Les Brown's book. Death and taxes are what also a good answer.
Yeah.
Taxes. The quote and story master.
Public speaking and fear of death.
Public speaking and fear of death.
Yeah. That's so interesting. The fear of public speaking is really interesting. Right? Like, why are we scared to talk to people?
It's a conditioned response that's built up over time.
That's right.
Comes from asking those stupid questions back in high school.
Yeah. That's been one of my biggest fears in life is public speaking.
Public speaking?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I used to take F's in high school. I wouldn't do it. I'd make up the work. I'd do projects or whatever they told me to do.
Yeah.
And people don't believe that now, but seriously, that was me. In college, I wouldn't do it. It's taken a long time to be able to get up in front of a room and do that, but you have to force it.
Yeah.
So you did you just keep trying it over and over again until you were comfortable?
I'm never comfortable with it, but I can do it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Where I can keep my mind, where I don't go blank.
Right.
Because part of that fear, it's just like, I will say, it's just like talking to a really pretty girl as a guy. If you ever done that and your mind went blank, or you thought, you put so much pressure on yourself, you sweat. It's the same thing as public speaking. It's
so interesting how that happens for men. We go into those conversations, and whether if you're a man and you're into men and you're talking to a good-looking man, or you're into women and you're talking to a good-looking woman, we take the stance of, I like them so much, I hope they like me. And the reality is, you don't even fucking have a clue who they are yet.
That's right.
Right? But you take that surface appearance thing and immediately intimidate yourself with that fear of rejection when you can still reject them. Like, what are you worried about yet?
Yeah, it goes to show you the social conditioning of how important beauty is.
Yeah.
Yeah, very true.
Which, in a lot of girls, that's what they've learned.
Yeah.
That's why they know they can. Seinfeld did a whole episode on the it's like, you're part of the bubble people. You're so good looking, things just happen for you magically.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it happens because our society's push of beauty.
Yeah.
They do experience that.
Yep.
Which, hey, good for them, I guess.
Sure.
Yeah. Cool. Well, hey, we're coming. We actually passed the hour mark. Enjoying your stories too much, Hazen. But hey, man, I just want to say really thank you, man, for coming on the show and sharing some stories, sharing some experiences, and just giving some insight to me, to Matt, and to all the young people that are watching right now, man. It was incredible to have you on the show here and having this awesome conversation with you.
No, thank you, David. Thanks, Matt. And, the last thing I'll say to all the young pros is a quote that somebody gave me a long time ago, and they said, if you lived your life like this, you're going to be happy. They just said, give, outgive, and out-forgive the people around you.
Wow. Give, outgive, and out-forgive the people around you.
There you go.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, that's good. Hazen, is there anywhere, like, if I want to learn more about you or find out a bit more about you, where can I go?
You can go to my blog,
Cool.
just thehiz.com.
Cool.
Yeah, it's one of my nicknames.
That link right now is below the video, so go click thehiz.com and go check out Hazen for more of his awesome stories. And until then, guys, thank you for tuning into the Young Pro Show. Appreciate your time here at the Young Pro Show. We want to have as many incredible conversations that matter with amazing human beings from all around the world. So remember to subscribe to the show, like us on Facebook, and go to theyoungproshub.com to become a member, where you guys will get email updates with every new powerful conversation that we have with these incredible people all around the world. So thank you again, Hazen, for coming to the show today. It was a pleasure to have you.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Have a great day.
Thanks so much, Hazen. Have an awesome day, my friend.